Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. As the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access, no purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus, begins on December 1st, 2025, ends on July 31st, 2026, multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice podcast, your inside connection to outdoor legislation. From the Beltway to policy happening your way, we're covering it all. I'm your host, Fred Bird. Join us as we explore public land access, wildlife and fisheries management, Second Amendment rights, the triumphs that shape our nation, the sports we all love, and the stories that fuel our passion for the great outdoors. This is the Sportsman's Voice podcast.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this special feature edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. This is our fourth episode in our Hunt Fish 250 celebration, 250 years of America, 250 years of conservation. We've taken you from the founding of our nation and before, looking at conservation efforts, species-specific profiles, talking about the success of the wild turkey and a couple others, fisheries as well. Looking forward, we've been teasing that out. And in this fourth edition, we are going to do just that. We're going to talk about legacy and looking forward to the next 250 years. And folks, it is my great pleasure once again to welcome back Mr. Johnny Morris, and his son, JP John Paul Morris, joins us as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And I'm looking forward to the conversation because it is a rich one and one that hearing from the both of you will carry a great amount of weight as we go towards our 250th.
Fred, thank you. It's an honor to get to spend a little time with you. We're huge fans of Congressional Sportsman's Foundation, all the work you guys do for not only where we are today, but looking into the future. It's a pretty special for me. Talk about heritage, be next to my number one hunting and fishing buddy, my son John here, and think about his grandparents and just the great American tradition of hunting and fishing that we're blessed to enjoy here.
And to get to grow up in America with all the the resources and the access that we have with my dad. We've had so many special experiences and happy memories over the years in the great outdoors. And just talking about how we're going to continue to protect that for future generations is something near and dear to both of our hearts. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'd be remiss before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation without acknowledging, obviously, Johnny Bass Pro Shops, great supporters, always keeping Congressional Sportsman Foundation in the forefront, and JP is a current board member of CSF. So both of you appreciate your leadership for the organization and all that you do. So we'll start now, passing down outdoor traditions across generations. Johnny, your story's been told hundreds, if not thousands of times, from your family's small bait shop, you taking it to where you are, passing that down to your son, and now your son has a small family. Start with the legacy of your parents, Johnny. Take us to where you're at, and then passing those lessons and the passion down to your son, and then JP, we'll let you tell your story with your young family.
I just thank you for the opportunity because I feel so blessed. I've spent my whole life really around the great sport of fishing, and particularly in the outdoors. And I think back, my mom and dad, they were born, we're sitting here in base camp, our headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. And my parents were both born in 1911, a little town called Willard. And I'd say, you could say they were poor. My mom was one of 10 kids that grew up in a 2-bedroom house. My dad was raised by a great aunt. And you think back to about that period of time, I think kids today, there was nobody had any running water, no electricity, and just a time, the change in America. They got to see the advancement, so many things, to having indoor plumbing instead of an outhouse, and get the first radio, first TV, that generation. And though my parents didn't have much, if you ask me and people their generation, they always felt like they were rich from the standpoint of having a happy life. And one of the things that I believe that, and I know they passed on to me and my sisters and our family, is a love and that just to experience the joy of the great outdoors. And what a big part conservation and America's sportsmen and women are the backbone of conservation. I remember, John, your mom and dad, or my mom and dad, your grandparents, when they grew up, there were no wild turkeys around. And it was a very rare thing if they ever saw a white-tailed deer. And in my parents' lifetime, they got to see abundant population of wild turkey and the white-tailed deer. My parents became huge fans of the Missouri Department of Conservation, and seeing firsthand what can happen when people come together to work for conservation. So I sat here and, Bass Pro Shop, our company wouldn't be for one thing. I believe this deeply, and that one word is conservation. And how do kids grow up and have a chance to get their rod bent, have the joy of catching a fish? It doesn't have to be in their eyes. I don't care if it's a perch, it's a giant, it's happy times. And so it's like our passion, but it's our obligation. And I say me, John, the people that are part of our Bass Pro family and our customers, we have a shared passion that unites us, and that's and congressional, man, you guys do a great job to stand up for sportsmen and women of America with common sense, conservation, bipartisan uh, efforts. And so anyway, we're proud to be here with you, and we're grateful to you for everything you guys do. It's 4 years we've come to realize what a powerful voice all of us have together through you, Jeff Crane, other leaders. It's amazing. So thank you.
No, thank you. JP, talk about being somewhat of a new dad here recently, and how that affects your life and your perspective on things. You and your dad have a great relationship. If you follow JP socially, you see the adventures and the joy on their faces. And I have to imagine, having a young family of my own, that is exacerbated in a great way by being able to share in those experiences.
There's no doubt about it. Yep, I've got a young family, 2 young kids, a little boy and a little girl at home, and just all the happy times I got lucky to have growing up in the great outdoors. And I think a lot of today's generations are growing up indoors and cooped up and on the phone and on the TV. And I know I've been dragging my kids out there a lot, experiencing, hunting, fishing, just getting out on the boat, getting outside as much as possible. It gives you a different perspective on things. And that's another reason we're just so passionate about it. When you go in one of our stores, you'll see a lot of families in there, and they're gathered around the aquarium. And one of our main pillars of our whole company is conservation. And there's kind of 3 different pillars we have within conservation. And one of those is inspiring new audiences. And we're super passionate about that because it's just so fun, something so rewarding about getting a young kid or an old kid, either way, hooked up on their first fish or out in the woods to experience their first turkey gobbling or whatever it may be. Those are special memories and experiences that no doubt help people's mental health. And it's just a great thing for our society to get them outdoors. So really passionate about it.
His little boy is not even quite 2 years old, or he just turned 2. There's not one fish or wildlife critter that he can't tell you what it is right off the top
Yeah,
of his
he's
head.
elk bugling, running around in diapers, and can tell you all the fish in the aquarium here. So he's ahead of the pace when it comes to outdoors. So.
I think he's got good examples and probably some good resources to lean on. That's great.
Yeah.
JP, this may be unfair to ask to pinpoint it to one, but is there a time in your young life that you could kind of recall, a moment in time with your dad being a fielder, or any time just that it really clicked for you, the importance of all of this that we're talking about in a very meta sort of way of looking at things?
Well, I've grown up around the outdoors my whole life, and in a sense, been super blessed to grow up during a generation and a time span that people before us did a great job taking care of the resources. Like my dad was talking about, his parents didn't see white-tailed deer. My whole lifetime, I've been blessed that there's been an ample supply of deer and turkeys and other wildlife to go out and recreate. And so that's been really special. And over the years, growing up around my dad is just dad, so, but you hear a lot from different groups. And now looking back, the foresight that my dad had, and alongside of our outfitters in the company and the investment we've made in conservation, you talk with these leaders of these various groups and the difference that we've helped them make in conservation so rewarding. And I don't know, there's a particular time that it really clicked, but at some point you look up and it's just pretty incredible. From the humble beginnings of our company, to look up and see how much we're able to connect our customers and conservation efforts. And that's really, I think, the biggest thing we bring to the table is how we connect people to those that care about the nature and conserving it, and how do we, make a difference. One thing we're really proud of, we just heard the other day, we do some rod and reel trade-in programs during some of our fishing sales, and we just crossed the 500,000 rods. Now we've donated to kids, rods and reel combos over the years. And so there's small things like that our outfitters and our stores are such a big piece of. It's so cool when we all collectively come together and people have rods they're not using anymore, and now they're having a second life, and we're getting more kids connected to the outdoors. So there's a lot of just cool things that you look up and you kind of pinch yourself to understand, it's come a long way, and we're really making a lot of happy memories.
John talked about people coming together. One thing come to realize over the years more and more, to achieve great things in conservation, things that are really meaningful. It's not different than most things in life. It takes teamwork. It takes people reaching out to each other. And Jeff Crane and the whole team at Congressional, that's what they do. It's not like Democrat, Republican. It's bipartisan, really, people reaching out. And I think in the big picture landscape of conservation, the teamwork, it's like we need our federal agencies are very important. The state agencies are important. But just alone, you can't achieve great things just through regulation. I mean, we have to have laws. We have people violate things bad. We got to make sure they don't do that again.
And right.
But at the same time, for really great things, it's when people reach out and there's teamwork, and you get like business, like Bass Pro, our vendors, people in the NGOs or the conservation organizations, and then people. How do we unite with people? Because everybody individually, we're all important, but you get people hooked up, and then you look at the big successes in conservation in North America. It's like when you get federal agencies, the state agencies, the conservation groups, companies, and individuals all kind of united to set these priorities and then to take action to make really big things happen. And when I look at Congressional, I think everybody does, they are uniters. You guys are uniters to help bring people together. And that's part of our opportunity at Bass Pro. It's not just, okay, we donate part of our earnings. Our customers are very generous with this outdoor fund to round up their purchases to go back to conservation. Some they come, but when you come together and you invest with common sense and wisely manage things good to really make things happen, our North American model with conservation, there's just nothing like it in the whole world. And it's a huge part of it, sportsmen and women based.
And what's unique too is now we've seen, habitat access has come a long way, but hunting, fishing, the pastimes we love in the outdoors are coming under attack more today than ever. And that's why we're so proud of Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. Is a lot of outdoorsmen don't wake up every day thinking about what's going on in Washington, D.C. They don't really care about it. They just want to go out and do the things they love. But those things are becoming more and more under attack all the time. You look at things on the ballot in Oregon coming and other things, and it's really scary. And so we really applaud CSF for helping keep us abreast of situations and then letting us know when we need to rally our customers to stand up and fight for, pastimes they love. So it's really, really meaningful for us and our customers.
Yeah, no doubt. And, we've talked about it on this program, and I think, Johnny, I think we even touched on this the last time we were able to sit down and have a conversation, is the work on the Hill, while very important, it is the work in our backyards at our state capitals that affect us the most, that have that direct connect to our license sales and purchases, mission delivery on the ground from the state agencies, and just the things that we get to go do on the waterways and in the field. So, to your point, being able to wake up every day and think about this stuff and talk to local legislators in tandem with the stuff at the federal level and with all those partners is so important. And it's a great segue, and you started touching on it. I wanted to ask you both about the role of private sector leadership in conservation. Obviously, Bass Pro has been at this for so long, and you guys are without a doubt the leaders in the conservation space. Looking downstream and with partners in the private sector, what can they do? What would you say to them to inspire them to take action on an IP 28 in Oregon or removing Sunday hunting restrictions in Massachusetts?
Take the time to be informed. If they're not members that support you, they need to be. And people get busy. Leaders of many companies, they're looking at the short term, like the horizon, what's before them. Make conservation a very long-term investment for the future and the health of their business. So I would just say to every business leader in the sporting goods industry, hey, put conservation, make it a priority. It'll pay big dividends, not only financially for the future of your company and your enterprise, but also just for winning over customers and inspiring your own teammates. Is pretty great. And I just, as we're talking here, I can't help but think about, I know you're celebrating America's special birthday. And next week, we're blessed to be able to go out to the opening of President Roosevelt Library. And certainly, I mean, you think about where did our model of conservation come from? President Theodore Roosevelt, what a champion. And think about it. I say this all the time to young people, especially. Audubon, revered conservationist. He was a hunter. Roosevelt, hunter, angler. These people are in the field. They gain appreciation for the critters and the habitat it takes to sustain them. In Roosevelt's case, the need for regulation for, like, we were having too much harvest of wildlife, from buffaloes to birds for their feathers to what, and so we have to manage things with knowledge. And he also was big on having a healthy harvest of our God-given natural resources, and we're blessed to have an abundance here in America. And so he was a proponent, like, we need to have a healthy harvest of these things. So it'll be an honor to be able to be there. It's not just a library, it's like a celebration, a conservation, and a tribute to sportsmen and women in America. That man's foresight, his love, because he was a sportsman. That's pretty cool.
JP, you started touching on your three pillars, and one of those being inspiring new audiences, investing in our youth for future access. Johnny, you started talking about CSF being proactive in our policy engagement, and for the last couple of years, one of those top 10 priorities has been getting hunter ed in the schools in some form of fashion, making it an elective so kids can get a credit, maybe looking in the 9 through 12 grades, or maybe even 6 through 12, and creating these opportunities. We've been successful with that. Taking hunter ed, putting in the school, there are other ideas. What is your philosophy in looking forward to JP, your kids and beyond, how we reach them in an environment that is increasingly more challenging, getting kids outside, getting anybody outside, really, where hunting numbers are going down. And that's a challenge we have to face head on if conservation and the true meaning of it perpetuates into the future.
Yes, definitely an opportunity. I mean, I think we have a great foundation, so we're really blessed from that. A great place to start from. Here in Missouri, we're really blessed that the state has a dedicated sales tax that goes to the conservation department, and so there's so many areas that are accessible to, whether it be young families, people just looking to go try hunting, fishing for the first time. And a lot of states have a level of public access in some areas that you can go get your rod bin or go outside and experience small game hunting, squirrel hunting, dove hunting, some other things that are pretty easily accessible. I would say, we've seen trends in our fishing business and around at, the Bassmaster Classic and the Red Crest event, that there's a lot of interest in youth and fishing. There's certainly some access issues, I think, in the future when it comes to hunting that are worth paying attention to, but I do think the future is very bright. And it goes along with, we got to have the right habitat. We got to have the access, and we got to inspire these next generations to get out there. And it's going to continue to be a battle, but I think the outdoors have a lot to offer. So we got that going for us. Dad, what would you say?
I'd say you got it spot on. Have happy times, get outside. And hunting and fishing is a big part of that. It helps draw people. And actually, I think we're very excited after all these many years. The future looks very bright to me. I mean, there's challenges in every day, everything you can look at, any facet of life. But to me, there's a lot to be happy about, a lot to celebrate. It comes down, I think, the role all the sportsmen have is, and we in our company, and something we could do better here at Bass Pro. It's one of our priorities is to try to do a better job of celebrating successes and share not only with hunters and anglers, but with everyone we can information, successes, and where even the generosity of America's sportsmen and women. You think back in history when sportsmen and women pretty much lobbied the government to impose a tax on them. And shame on us, but I think a lot of our customers come and go from a store don't realize that every fish plug they buy, every rod, every reel, every shotgun shell, 10%, give or take, federal excise tax that sportsmen and women pay for their add incremental expense or cost for their gear, with the understanding that that money would and it does go back to support conservation. Then there's the duck stamp program, other licenses. And then just the generosity from the outdoor sporting and fishing community. Those things combined represent the vast majority of the funding for all of our state fish and wildlife agencies and the wonderful work they do. And that's something that everybody that hunts and fishes should be very proud of. It impacts not only just game species, but wildlife, birds, the whole environment. It's powerful.
Yeah, you literally read my mind, and I'm not surprised you went there whatsoever. And I agree with you. That is one of the biggest parts of our story, our history, and we have covered on this special series of going forward and putting that in the hands and in front of young people and adults as well, because quite frankly, even in our own community, I think we struggle with this part of our history and people understanding how the whole process works currently and where it came from in 1937 and then moving forward. We got to do a better job of telling that story, and to your point, being proud and celebrating that. We're talking about celebrating 250 years of freedom. We got to celebrate almost 90 years of self-feeding system, self-funding, and putting that on a very small population for the good of everybody, all the citizens. And it's a huge story that if we're not telling our history, someone else is going to tell it for us, which maybe not be so great.
We see you and you got your congressional badge on. We should have had ours on.
Yeah.
But it's
You
kind
guys
of
are great.
on our heart every day.
And wrapping up, this is, I've said at the beginning, we've kind of teased this out, and this is more apropos for this particular show is why the next 250 years require sustained leadership. JP, if I look into a crystal ball at some point, you're going to be the head of the family and running this and everything you've learned from your dad and your grandparents and taking Bass Pro and all you guys do as an organization for conservation, inspiring young people, inspiring older people to get out and bend a rod or go hunt doves for the first time. What does that leadership look like? And the partnerships, how do you engage and what do you see on a bigger scale outside of our sporting community? That feels like that's kind of baked in the cake. But when we start doing that outreach you talked about earlier, who do we pull in and get people to be the new leaders?
Well, I think a lot of this is just staying loyal and true to our principles and our beliefs. And that a lot of the same principles my grandparents had and their hard work ethic and the way they went about serving their customers is still true today in the business. And it's still going to be true, hopefully hundreds of years from now, is that if you treat people the right way, go about your business with dignity, having pride in America, what we do and serving, our customers and giving back to veterans and other great causes where we can. I think if we continue to stick those principles, we're going to really appeal to a solid base of customers that just have these true American values. And I think if we stick to that, we're going to be successful for a long time. And there's a lot of distractions today there's a lot of challenges that we're facing, and I think those are the things that are going to help guide us as we go into the future.
Johnny, any thoughts on that?
Yes, I just sitting here. So I was thinking about blessings in life. A lot of this about family traditions, and I was thinking about last year, a week from now, last year, I was over in Normandy with John's mom.
Mm.
My dad, he never told me this till like my 21st birthday. We were just the two of us around the campfire, and he got kind of choked up, a little bit emotional. And I said, Dad, he said, John, I want to share something with you. Your dad's very lucky to be across this campfire from you. I said, what do you mean, Dad? And he said, well, when I was a young man, about your age, I was over in a real rough time in the war, and I watched a lot of young people around me didn't fare as well as your dad. And I found out later he was talking about being in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II.
Mm.
So a year ago, my wife and I, a couple of other family members, we traveled to Normandy, and on Normandy Beach and Bastion and the Ardennes Forest. And some friends from the Army helped me retrace my dad's footsteps right there in the forest. And in a foxhole, he was a medic up on the front line, and we could see they showed me where my dad was, all these mortar shells that you could see in other soldiers' foxholes around. And it was very emotional, and I wish every young person in America could be beside us. I'm drifting off on this because America's special place, but also, and my dad, but also for conservation hero Roosevelt. So we go to the cemetery there at Normandy, 10,000 grave markers. Young people lost their lives to provide freedom for us and for the world, really. So we go up, and here's one marker, and it said Medal of Honor, just kind of subtly, but it said Medal of Honor. And it was Teddy Roosevelt Jr. And he was awarded the Medal of Honor for bravery there at Normandy Beach. He was a leader. He kept going back for his fellow soldiers to help them get off the beach and get to safety, and kept putting himself in harm's way. The grave marker next to him was his brother Quentin, who lost his life in World War I. And then you think that their dad, Teddy Roosevelt, posthumously received the Medal of Honor from being over in leading the charge at San Juan Hill. But the thing that struck me there, this conservation family, was also what a patriotic family. And the tour guide there at the cemetery shared with us, this family, they could have taken privilege, that they didn't have to do what they did, but they did because they believed in America. And I thought, here's this man standing up for freedom, but also blazing a trail and standing up for conservation, not only for America, but an inspiration for people around the world. And so I'm carrying on past your time limit here.
Oh, not at all. You keep going.
To be sitting here free today and be able to wake up, go hunt and fish if we want to. And I think, and I got the scrapbook of pictures. This is our buddy Jeff Crane, Richard Childress, that entered a racing, but fishing, outdoor buddy. He introduced us to Congressional and the work they were doing. To be honest, like many people, I wasn't so aware of the amazing work. And you asked a question to John earlier, but how do we get messages out? Getting these important messages out to policymakers in DC, they're both sides of the aisle, but getting them this information to make good policy from, and letting them know they're standing up for this incredible brotherhood and sisterhood of people that love the outdoors and what this means to our way of life in America.
And no doubt. I want to leave the show there, but I do want to acknowledge something interesting and lighthearted. So if you'll allow me, JP, you mentioned we were talking about sustained leadership and how you treat your customers and kind of building on that. And then with Johnny in a lighter way mentioning Normandy, but it brings me to thinking about Europeans and people outside of America looking at us, looking at the greatest success story in conservation. We're the epitome on this rock we call planet Earth of how we do conservation, how we prioritize and treat our natural resources comparative to the rest of the world, and how we self-fund that, and it's important to us. FIFA World Cup is in North America, and recently a lot of folks from overseas were in my neck of the woods. I'm in New Hampshire, and they were just down the street in Boston having a heck of a time, and I believe they made their way down to Foxborough, and some folks documented that, and they went into Bass Pro Shops, and they were just blown away. And you watch these firsthand accounts on social media of people coming to our country, talking about how it's represented in the media overseas, but then they come here and they experience something like a Bass Pro Shops, and they see it for the first time, and they're starry-eyed. I just thought that was a really neat reaction. I wanted to acknowledge it, that not only are we celebrating here, but the rest of the world and people that are coming are getting to celebrate with us, whether they know it or not. And that was pretty neat.
It was pretty cool getting to see some people experience Bass Pro Shops that haven't been to one before or been there to experience it. My dad mentioned and showed that picture to Richard Childress, and he really did get us introduced to Jeff and CSF. And Richard started, with a $20 race car, and now he's chased his dreams into being one of the premier NASCAR owners. And he always says, only in America. And that's true for a lot of things. It's a very special country because people stood up for what they believed in. And only in America can we have the resources we have and believe in conservation, where we can, have good conservation, but go out and have the right kind of use to be able to actually use those resources and not just set them off to the side. And anyway, we're really excited about the future and partnering with Taylor now too, and CSF to guide us into the next generation and keep an eye out for us so we protect what's so special to us here in America.
Hey, Fred, I'm going to expand on time, but you can edit this, okay?
We're good.
So I was going through some old scrapbook pictures before our visit with you, and I came across one of my very favorites. So we were kids growing up, and we'd draw names for who's going to get who a Christmas gift. So my dad draws my name. I was in high school. I thought, man, maybe I'm getting a truck, maybe something cool. He gives me this picture. I'll send it to you, but it's a picture of my mom and dad and a bird dog. And I want to read to you what. So I open up this gift. I'm thinking, man, he gives me this picture. It's been hanging around the house for years. It didn't mean so much to me at the time, I'm telling you. But as time's gone on, it's the most meaningful gift from the heart that anybody could ever get. And I just want to share with this picture. My dad's note said, John L., in this picture are 4 joys of my life. Jenny, your mother. You, my son, 3 months from touchdown. Pat, my best bird dog, and a handful of feathers that made my day. A very Merry Christmas, 1985, Dad. And just people that don't hunt and fish, it's the joys, it's the happiness, it's the memories that are priceless. It's maybe you dream about a trophy buck or a big bass, but it's the trophy memories are what really matter the most. And I'm so grateful. You began this by asking about heritage, and I'm glad I came across this. I'm so glad that my parents shared their love of the outdoors with me and my sisters, and we have the opportunity to do that. And I think that's what drives so many people in our company, is just the opportunity to share the joys of the great outdoors and what you guys do to stand beside us and be in front of us. And we're grateful to you.
Now, and that cuts both ways, and that's a perfect spot to end the visit. I really appreciate both of your times, appreciate your leadership, both with CSF and then what you guys do as champions for conservation, inspiring millions of people to get outdoors and championing what we do. A happy 250th to you folks. I know you guys are going to be having probably a great celebration down there in Springfield. So we look forward to seeing some of that social media wise. It's always a good time to live vicariously, and we'll leave it there.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks,
Have
Fred.
a happy day.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.